Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. How's it going? How's it going? We are here today. Y'all see the moniker. Y'all see the thumbnail. Vote blue no matter who. I've never been a big fan of that vote blue no matter who. And I always thought it sounded too much like Democrats saying, I don't care what we do. I don't care who we run. I don't care how disappointed you are. Just shut up and vote. And no, I do not believe any political party owns my vote. I do not believe Democrats should be able to ignore their voters. Take black voters for granted, refuse to fight, and then show up every 4 years telling us we have no choice because the other side is worse. But I have been thinking about something lately, and I have changed my mind about one thing. Blue, no matter who, has validity in times of peril and in times of change and in times of danger. Vote blue no matter who. Peril means serious and immediate danger. That is the difference. And I'm not talking about ordinary political disappointment. I'm not talking about being mad because your candidate lost the primary. I'm not talking about a Democrat failing to inspire you. And I'm talking about a danger. I'm talking about a danger. I believe this country is in peril. And I believe we're living through the consequences of too many people treating elections like a morality test, while the other side treats elections like a way to get power. We needed to love our candidate. We needed to feel inspired. We needed somebody who agreed with us on certain things. We wanted a candidate with no baggage, no bad vote, and no position we had to explain. Meanwhile, the other side held their noses and they voted. They held their noses and they voted for Donald Trump. They understood something that too many of us refused to understand on the Democratic side. Somebody was going to get the power. Somebody was going to become president. Somebody was going to appoint judges. Somebody was going to run the Justice Department. Somebody was going to control the agencies. Somebody was going to sign those executive orders. The power is not going to sit there empty because we did not like either choice. That's why I was screaming the other day. You guys wanted to get rid of Plattner. Hold your fucking nose and vote. I get that. I get that. He's been accused. I get that. But right now, our country is in peril. Our country is in a crisis. Our country is in a crisis, and we have to stop the people that are in power right now. Okay? Somebody was going to become president. The power was not going to sit there. We had to do something. And I know some people are going to get mad when I say this, but I believe we are in this kind of mess, in this war, the immigration. We are in this problem now because too many of us refuse to hold our nose and vote for the person standing between us and the greatest danger. We kept asking the question, does this Democrat deserve my vote? She didn't want to deal with Gaza. She didn't want to do this. She's a cackling hen. She laughs at everything. Maybe we should have been asking another question too. What happens to this country if this person wins? Because those are not the same thing. You can decide a Democrat has not earned your love and still understand that the person running against them should not be handed that power. How y'all like us now? How y'all like us now, some of y'all? You can be disappointed in one person without pretending the two choices are equally dangerous. You can hold your nose and still know exactly why you're voting. I think too many of us wanted our hands to be clean. We wanted to be able to say, well, I didn't vote for either one of them. I'm just a good person. I ain't going to vote for a Graham Plattner. I'm just such a good person. Okay. But somebody still has to win. I still want that Senate seat, that main Senate seat. The judges still get appointed. The agency still got control. Decisions still got made. The rest of us still had to live in a country the winner has created for us. Does anybody like the country that we in right now? Does anybody like the country that this president has created for us? Does anybody like it? Do you like it? Okay. And now I want you to look at where we are. I want you to look at where we are. Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me play this video. This is where we at. This is where we at. Look at that. And I'm not showing you that video to prove racism exists. Black people don't need a video to tell us that racism exists. I'm showing you that because of the comfort. That is what I want you to pay attention to. The comfort. People are coming out in public, standing together, marching together, and talking about reclaiming the United States. Every time I hear the word reclaim, I have the same question. Reclaim it from whom? Take it back from whom? Who do they believe took their country? Who do they believe does not belong here? That is why I am using the word peril. We're still sitting here debating whether a Democrat made us feel good enough to vote, while people with very different ideas of America are organizing, voting, and trying to control the power. That is the conversation I want to have today. I'm not asking you to fall in love with Democrats. I'm not asking you to stop criticizing Democrats. I'm asking whether we have learned anything from how we got here. Have we learned any lessons about how we got here? Because I have. I've learned that my vote does not always have to be a love letter to the candidate. I ain't got to love who I vote for. Sometimes my vote is a shield. Sometimes it's a roadblock. Sometimes my vote simply means I'm not giving you the power to make this worse. And in a time of peril, that matters. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And this is where I think some of us have gotten lost. We keep talking about voting as if every election happens under the same circumstances. It does not. There are normal political times when you lose an election, organize, come back in 2 years and try again. You may hate the policies of the person who won, but you still believe the basic rules will hold. Then there are times of peril. Those are the times when the people seeking power are not only trying to pass policies you disagree with, they are trying to test how much power they can grab, how many limits they can push, and how many safeguards will actually stop them. That changes the calculation. Y'all don't get it. That changes the calculation in who you vote for. Now, I'm not, I know somebody is already saying, there y'all go again. You Democrats telling us every election is the most important election of our lifetime. I hear that. They've said it so many times that people stop listening. I get that. But just because somebody pulled the fire alarm too many times does not mean you ignore the smoke when the building is actually on fire. At some point, you have to look at what's happening in front of you. You have to look at the courts, the voting rights, the Justice Department, the power of the presidency. Look at what's happening around our elections. You have to look at the people who are supposed to protect the safeguards and ask yourself whether those safeguards are getting stronger or weaker. Because this is the mistake we make. We think a country loses its safeguards all at once. It usually does not happen that day or that way. It can happen one decision at a time, one rule at a time, one limit gets pushed, One agency changes direction. One person who says no gets replaced by somebody who will say yes. And every step, somebody tells you that you're overreacting. That is why I want you to watch this. Let me show you a video.
Trump is currently trying to withhold counterterrorism funds from states unless they change their election laws. FEMA is withholding 20% of its Homeland Security Grant Program funding from states unless they comply with newly instituted election mandates. These rules stem from Trump's broader push to steal the 2026 midterms by fundamentally reshaping state election infrastructure. The funding tied to these requirements comes from the $1 billion annual Terrorism Prevention Grant Program. FEMA is going to freeze 20% of each state or local government's total award, which finances cybersecurity, emergency planning, and public safety equipment. Funds will only be released after a recipient submits proof of compliance verified by DHS. To unlock the restricted counterterrorism funds, the administration is demanding that states implement several drastic overhauls to their voting processes. They must gradually phase out electronic voting systems and switch entirely to hand-marked paper ballots. They are also required to cross-check their voter registration lists against a federal database to verify citizenship status. And they must carry out manual post-election audits using federal oversight guidelines established by Trump. Secretaries of State have fiercely condemned this, saying the U.S. Constitution's election clause explicitly grants the authority to oversee and run elections to individual states and Congress, not the federal executive branch. Donald Trump.
Now, I want you to be careful about what I'm saying here. I'm not telling you an election has been stolen. I'm not telling you something has already happened that I cannot prove. I'm telling you to pay attention to the use of the power in this administration. Pay attention when federal power and election systems end up in the same conversation. Pay attention to what is being demanded, who is demanding it, and what happens when people push back. Those are legitimate questions in a country that's supposed to have safeguards. And that is the problem with safeguards. Most people do not think about them until they need them. Nobody walks around every day thinking about who runs a federal agency. Most people can't even name officials that are inside the Justice Department. Most people don't even spend their morning thinking about who's administrating the elections. Then something happens and suddenly everybody wants to know who's in charge of elections. That is why elections matter long after election day. When I vote for a president, I'm not just voting for the person whose name is on the ballot. I'm voting for people that the president will put in positions of power. I'm voting for who appoints judges, who runs the Justice Department, who controls federal agencies. I'm voting for who will stand around that president when somebody needs to tell him no. That last part matters more than people think. Who is willing to tell the president no? Who is willing to say, I cannot do that? Who is willing to tell their side that this is going too far? Who's willing to protect the rules and the Constitution when protecting the rules and the Constitution become inconvenient? Those people are part of the safeguard. And when enough of these people disappear, the law can still be sitting there on paper while the protection gets weak in real life. That is why I keep coming back to voting. We have spent years treating our vote like a reward. Did the candidate earn us? Did the candidate inspire us? Did the candidate say everything right? Did the candidate make us feel good? Meanwhile, the other side was asking a different question. Who gets the power? That is where the morality test cost us. We judged one candidate against perfection, while the other candidate judged that person about what they could deliver. They held their nose. They voted for people they had criticized. They voted for people they knew were flawed. They voted for people they didn't agree with. Then when their people won, they used that power. Look at what they're trying to do over in Texas. They know damn well, everybody and their mama know damn well Ken Paxton shouldn't be the senator. But I bet you those Republicans got right behind that damn man, and I bet you they're going to ride that donkey till the wheels fall off. Meanwhile, us Democrats want to feel clean. We want to feel morally perfect. We want to feel morally right. I just can't vote for him. I just can't. I just can't vote for him. We want to be able to say, I didn't vote for either one of them. I took the high road. Well, why don't you take the fucking high road and stand up there on the mountain while the other team gets the power? But somebody still became president when this happened. Somebody still appointed judges, controlled agencies, got the keys. You may have to walk away from the choice, but the consequences did not walk away from you. That is the part I think we fail to understand as Democrats. Not voting is a personal decision, but the consequences are public. Voting third party may make a personal statement, but the consequences of who wins are public. Withholding your vote may send a message, but you do not get to control who receives the power while you're sending it. That is why peril changes the calculation. That's why our country being in peril changes all calculations. When the danger is high enough, the question cannot always be, do I love this candidate? It cannot be, do I love this candidate? Sometimes the question has to be, who am I willing to let hold the power? I believe we learned the hard way that those are not the same question. And if we don't learn that fucking lesson now, before November 2026, we are going to keep taking morality tests while the other people keep taking control. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button, please, and thank you. And this is the conversation I really wanted to have, because I think too many of us have confused voting with a declaration of character. We act like voting for somebody means we're saying that person is good, morally, and worthy of our admiration. We act like the candidate has to represent everything we believe and agree with on every important issue. That is not what a vote always means. Sometimes a vote means you are the person that I want. Sometimes a vote means I cannot let the other person have this power. Those are two completely different reasons for voting, and both of them are valid. I think Republican voters have understood this better than we have ever from beginning. Republicans do not always need to love their candidate. They do not always need to agree with their candidate. They do not even need to defend everything their candidate has done. When election day comes, many of them ask the question, who's going to move this country closer to what I want? Then they vote Republican. Meanwhile, we have turned elections into courtrooms where our own candidate is always on trial. What did they say 10 years ago? Who did they offend? They got a swastika sticker. They had a fight with their girlfriend. You got allegations of this. They got allegations of that. Do they vote for Gaza? Did they support Gaza? Do they take AIPAC money? Those questions can matter, but there's another person on the ballot. Somehow we keep judging the Democrat against perfection while failing to fully consider what happens if the other person wins. We say, I can't vote for this Democrat because I disagree with him wearing a swastika. I disagree with him, blah, blah, blah. Fine. What does the other candidate plan to do about X, Y, and Z issues? We say, this Democrat disappoints me. Fine. What is the other candidate promising to do? We say, I don't trust this Democrat. He lied to me. Fine. Who are you willing to hand the power to instead? Because that is the actual choice right there. Refusing to choose does not leave the office empty, okay? It does not cancel the election. It does not create a better candidate. Somebody still wins. I think we have spent too much time believing that refusing to choose keeps our hands clean. We need to have clean hands. A Democrat, see, that's what I'm sick of Democrats. Maybe it keeps your conscience clean for one day, but you still have to live in the country the winner creates. Look at the country we're living in now because people refuse to vote. That is where I believe we made a serious mistake. We wanted our vote to say something about us. We wanted to be able to say, I stood on principle. While we were standing on principle, the other people took power. They took the courts. They took state legislatures. They took Congress. They took the White House. They didn't ask whether every candidate made them proud. They asked whether that candidate could help them win. And I know exactly what some people are going to say about what I'm arguing. They're going to say, no, Democrats do not get to keep failing us and then demand our vote. The Democrats don't do nothing for us. We don't get nothing from the Democrat. They always picking blah, 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 blah. I understand the argument. I want you to hear it. 16. Hold on. Let me show you a video.
Did you really just say that?
Come on, don't get all riled up, Hope. I'm just saying, you make the best lasagna in the county.
That's all right. Look at the video. I don't know why I got that background noise on that. Okay. But it's the videotape of a truck. Vote blue no matter who. Okay. Now I understand the anger that people have. I understand that. I'm not going to insult people by pretending Democrats have never given voters a reason to feel that way. They have. Democrats have failed to deliver on promises. They have taken loyal voters for granted. They've been too weak when people needed them to fight. They have asked people to vote like the country is facing an emergency and then sometimes govern like everything was normal. That criticism has validity. But here is where I disagree. You can be right about the failure and still be wrong about the remedy. That is the distinction I need us to make. You can be absolutely right about a Democrat failing you and still make a decision that leaves you worse off. You can be absolutely right that a candidate did not earn your enthusiasm and still ask whether that person who wins instead will cause greater harm. Being angry does not remove the consequence of the choice. That is what happened to us. We thought withholding our vote would punish the Democratic Party. Maybe it did, but the punishment did not stop at Democratic headquarters. The judges still got appointed. The agency still changed hands. The policy still changed. The rest of us had to live with a winner. That is why I've changed the way I look at blue no matter who. I used to hear surrender. Now in times like these, in times of peril, I hear strategy. Not forever, not blindly, not without criticism, but when the choice is set and one of two people is going to walk away with the power, I have to deal with the world as it is. I can fight the hell in the primary. I can fight whoever I want to in the primary. I can demand a better candidate. I can criticize Democrats when they fail. I can pressure them when they win. But when the general election comes, I have to ask a different question. Who am I willing to let hold this power? Because after election day, nobody asked whether I felt inspired when I cast my ballot. They count the votes. The winner gets the country. Now, somebody's going to say I'm being dramatic. They're going to say every generation thinks the country is falling apart. Every election gets called the most important election of our lifetime. Every political party tells us the other side is dangerous. Fine. Do not listen to the slogans. Look at what is happening. Look at what is happening in our country right now. I showed you those masked men marching through Washington because I wanted you to see how comfortable some people have become. That is the change I want you to pay attention to. People will say they have always been there. These racists have always been here. I know they've always been here. That is not the point. A roach in the wall and a roach walking across your dinner table are the same roach. The difference is that one of them has gotten mighty goddamn comfortable in your presence. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying one politician created every racist person in America. That would not be true. I am saying leadership can affect what people believe they can say and do in public. Donald Trump has affected people and they feel like they can say whatever they want to say in public. The people at the top can make certain behavior feel unacceptable or acceptable, or they can help create an atmosphere where people believe they have permission to come out of the shadows. That is why I want you to hear that. Listen to this. Make them comfortable coming out of the shadows.
Yes.
Born
correct.
in America.
Yes.
But where did they come from originally?
See, actually, just being born in America doesn't make you American.
Born in America to second generation, that's...
Still, yeah.
Your parents are naturalized citizens and you're born in America, you're
No,
still
see,
not
being
American?
a citizen doesn't make you American either. It's a natural thing.
What's natural about being an American citizen?
Well, nationality is a natural thing.
Okay, so my ancestors are half Italian, half Irish.
Yeah?
Do they count?
Why are you shaking?
Huh? I'm
Handshake.
cold, dude. I just
Cold?
skateboarded like 8
Skateboarded
blocks.
over here?
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people of European nationalities, of the European race, can become American. India is not in Europe, though, so they cannot.
What about like...
Because nations are intra-racial. Right?
Okay.
So nations are a collective of humanity which exists within racial collectives.
Where does Europe end and like
So
the
Europe
Slavic
is,
states begin? Like what about Russians? Do they count?
Russia, Eastern or Western Russia is in Europe. Yeah.
So what about the steppes? Like Iranian, does that count? Does Iranian count as white?
Iran is not in Europe. No. Yeah.
Doesn't count as white. What about Turkey? Istanbul?
Turkey is not in Europe either. No.
Okay. What about like the Balkans? What about like
Balkan countries are in Europe, yes.
Okay.
I love this. It's
Georgia?
geography
How about Georgia?
Georgia is on...
Can Georgians be
so
Americans?
I would say geographically, Europe ends at the Caucasus Mountains. And I believe Georgia is on the right side of the Caucasus Mountains.
What about Muslims who are from Spain?
Muslims who are from Spain. So the organization does not accept Muslims, no matter what their racial or heritage might be.
Okay, so
yeah.
white Muslims not allowed.
No, yes.
You got to check all the identity boxes.
Well, yes, I believe it's a foreign religion.
So your group is based on identity politics.
We recognize identity as a part of the human experience, which is necessary to the proper structuring of government. Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like you have something in common with Joy Reid on that.
I don't know who that is.
Joy Reid, MSNBC host.
Okay. Well, I probably have opposing views on what I believe is the proper identity and heritage to build up the country than she does.
What about Caribbeans, like native Caribbeans who moved to America? Do they count? That's not Europe.
No.
Like Tortola. What if you're from Tortola, part of the Commonwealth,
Okay.
and you come to the United States?
Tortolan immigration. Yeah, I think we could do without it. Yeah.
What about Australia?
Well, Australians are European. It's a nation of the European diaspora. Yeah.
Okay, but there are white people in Tortola too. So there could be Tortolan, but they have to be white Tortola.
Yeah. Y'all hear that goggly goop? Listen what is being said. I'm not telling you that one person speaks for every Republican. He doesn't. I'm not telling you that every white person thinks like this. They don't. That is not my argument. My question is, why this kind of thinking feels so comfortable in public right now? Why does so much of the conversation keep coming back to who belongs here? Who is a real American? Who needs to go back? Who needs to be removed? Who gets to decide what America is supposed to look like? Those are questions I pay attention to because I'm a Black woman in America. I know enough history to know that when people start deciding who the real Americans are, Black people better not sit in the back of the room believing the conversation has nothing to do with us. This is bigger than ordinary political disagreement. I can disagree with somebody about taxes. I can disagree about spending. I can disagree about the size of the government. But when the conversation turns to who belongs to this country, whose history should be erased, and whose place in America should be questioned, I'm paying attention. And the danger is not only coming from people marching in the streets. We also have to look at the racial temperature being set from the top. That is why I want you to look at this.
That favored Joe Biden.
Now, one of the first lawmakers to make a public statement about the video was U.S. Senator Tim Scott, a Trump ally and the only Black Republican in the U.S. Senate. He said, quote, praying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The Obamas have declined to comment on the video. President Trump has not responded today about it. And we have not seen any Republicans in the House or Senate talk about this directly on camera. But this afternoon, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries posted this on Instagram.
This disgusting video posted by the so-called president was done intentionally. Donald Trump and his vile, racist, and malignant behavior. This guy is an unhinged bottom feeder. President Obama and Michelle Obama are brilliant, caring, and patriotic Americans. They represent the best of this country. It's time for John Thune, Mike Johnson, and Republicans to denounce this serial fraudster who's sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue pretending to be the President of the United States.
Wow. Now again, I'm not asking you to accept every opinion somebody gives in a video. Look at the incident itself. Look at what is becoming part of our public political life. Then ask yourself, what kind of atmosphere that creates? When racial degradation becomes political entertainment, the effect does not stay on social media page. It tells people something about what's acceptable. That is the connection I want you to see. On one side, you have people marching publicly and talking about reclaiming America. On the other side, you have racial imagery becoming part of the political conversation at the highest level. Those things do not prove that every American has become more racist. I'm not making that claim. They do show why I believe this is a dangerous racial moment. The shame is disappearing. The hiding is disappearing. The boundaries are being pushed. That is what I mean when I say the danger is not theoretical. And this brings me back to the morality test. Some of us were examining Democratic candidates with a magnifying glass, while people with a completely different view of America were building power. We were asking, did this Democrat say everything right? Does this candidate inspire me? Do I feel good about this vote? They were looking up and acting like, who gets control? Can my people win? They were asking all those kind of questions. We can't keep doing this, y'all. I'm not telling anybody to ignore serious wrongdoing. I'm not telling anybody that characters no longer matter. I'm not saying every person with a D behind their name deserves your vote under every circumstance. I'm saying the circumstances matter. The comparison matters. The consequences matter. If my house is sitting there perfectly fine, I can take my time choosing who I want to work on my house. I can check every review, compare every price, and wait for the person I trust to fix my house. If my house is on fire, the circumstances have changed. I'm not standing in the yard demanding a perfect fire department while the flames spread to the second floor. That is what peril means. Peril changes the calculation. Too many of us are still making normal time decisions in an abnormal, perilous time for America. Everybody is going about their way, and we are in a country in peril. We're still looking for a candidate us Democrats to fall in love with. I'm looking at who can stop the bleeding. We are still asking whether a candidate deserves our vote. You Democrats always are asking the wrong fucking questions. I'm asking what happens to the country if the other party gets into power. It ain't about who we nominate. It's about if they get power. We have to stop their power. I would rather hold my nose in the voting booth and vote for Graham Plantner than spend the next 4 years holding my head in my hands, asking how the hell we got here. Because we know how we got here. We treated the imperfect choice, Kamala Harris, as though it were the same as a dangerous choice. That's what the fuck we did. It was not. Now we're living with the consequences. Now we're living with the difference. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And this is the part that frustrates me the most. The other side understood something we refuse to understand. Politics is about power. I'm not saying morality does not matter. I'm not saying characters don't matter. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm saying who's going to control the courts? Who runs the justice system, the agencies, the rules? Who decides which laws get enforced? Who sits behind that desk and signs their name? That is power. While we trying to decide whether our candidate made us feel good, yes, or our candidate was lying or wasn't lying, the other side was trying to decide how much power they can get. They held their nose and they voted. They voted for people they had criticized. They voted for people they knew had baggage, who knew they was trash. They voted for people they did not agree with or on anything. Some of them did not even like the person they were voting for. They voted anyway. After election day, nobody asked how excited you were when you cast your ballot. They count the votes and the winner gets the power. That's it. That's all. Democrats and Democratic voters have got to stop confusing our standards with our strategy. We should have standards. We should fight for the best candidate in the primary. We should ask hard questions, demand better, and take serious wrongdoing seriously. But when the choices are set and one or two people is going to walk away with the power, we have to deal with the world as it is, not the world as we wish it to be. This is why I get so frustrated watching Democrats turn every flaw into a firing squad. A Republican can have a list of scandals long as a motherfucker, and their voters will still ask, can he win? A Democrat makes one mistake, says one wrong thing, has one accusation or allegation of or one bad vote, and here we go. Drop out, get out, step aside. We can't support you. We have to take the moral high ground. We got to do what we got to do. We can't vote for you. Baby, we have taken the moral high ground so many fucking times that I'm starting to wonder if we plan to govern, when the fuck we want to govern. Do you plan to govern? Do you want to govern? Do you want to take our country back from this treacherous president and his cabinet and the people around him? Do you want to take it back from him, or you want to be on the high ground? And before somebody twists what I'm saying, let me make this clear. I'm not saying allegations do not matter. I'm not saying we should ignore serious wrongdoing. I'm not saying we protect somebody simply because that person is Democrat. I am saying we have to look at the facts. We have to look at the evidence. We have to look at how serious the conduct is. We have to stop acting like every flaw is equal. Every allegation is already proven, and every imperfection on a Democrat has to be thrown away before even compared to the person with the alternative. That is where Graham Plattner comes in this conversation. This whole rant is not about him. He's an example of a larger problem. I want you to watch this. Un momento.
Never going to be any real change if the rhetoric that we go to, that no matter what, we got to vote blue. And this isn't an endorsement of Republican or conservative values. But, I mean, damn, at what point do we hold our candidates accountable? At what point do we punish the Democratic Party for putting so much bullshit? If they were good, we wouldn't even have to worry about voting a third party. But they're not good. We're just supposed to be fucking sheep for them? Fuck that. Fuck it. If you got to put a third candidate, if you got to write somebody in, do it, dude. It's 2026, guys. We could change it. We have the power to change all this shit. You've seen what the power of the collective can do. With boycotts, you've seen billion-dollar corporations get actually hurt by it. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it's not possible. And you don't have to be discouraged and be like, oh, if I write in my candidate, it's not gonna matter.
This is the goofy logic we got. This is some of the goofy logic we got on our side. Don't nobody give a damn who you write in. Don't nobody give a damn about your feelings. There's a difference. That you have to start voting like your life depends on it. You have to start voting like this is the last candidate, and the other candidate is going to take a bazooka to every person in the world. You have to start thinking like that. We are at the point where we are having an existential threat with this administration. We are at the point where we have to make decisions that we don't want to make. We are at the point where we have to decide that we're going to stop this agenda somehow, some way, because this agenda is more perilous, more damaging to the country. It may take years to get us away from the garbage that this president and this administration put us in. It'll take years before we can get back to doing something normal. Maybe put the people first. Okay? It will take years before we can get back to any semblance of normality. Now, whatever you think about Graham Plattner, stay with me for the larger point. I'm not asking you to decide whether every claim about him is true or false based on a video. I'm not asking you to ignore facts or excuse serious wrongdoing. I am asking why Democrats are so quick to turn uncertainty into a reason to surrender. What the fuck was y'all thinking? What the fuck were you thinking? Get Plattner out of the race. No, you make the Republicans come get you. You make the Republicans beat him. You don't beat him as a Democrat. You don't go over there and beat up Plattner. You make the Democrats beat him. And I heard this damn show the other day. Oh, well, I just couldn't vote for Plattner. I just don't want to. Blah 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 blah. I was like, oh my God, this is why Democrats always losing. You always losing. Always. For some we beat up our candidate instead of letting the other party beat our candidate up. We beat up our candidate before they even get to the damn voting booth. Why are we so eager to make the case against our own people before the other side even gets started putting attack ads out? Why do we keep acting like losing proves our morality? Like we should be on the high road. Stand your ass up there on the high road and lose. Losing does not make you moral. Sometimes losing just means the people you're saying are dangerous get the power. That is the part we keep skipping as Democrats. The people, fuck your morality, man. We spend so much time asking whether our candidate is good enough that we forget to ask what happens if our candidate is gone. Who replaces them? Who benefits? Who gets closer to power? Those questions matter too. The other side understands this. They know the difference between supporting somebody and worshiping somebody. They know they can vote for a person and still disagree with what they say. They know they can dislike parts of the candidate and still understand what the election is going to decide. We keep acting like a vote is a marriage certificate. It's not. Sometimes a vote is simply a decision about which person you would rather fight after the election. That may not sound inspiring. Politics does not always give you an inspiring choice. Sometimes you get the person you love. Sometimes you get the person you pressure. Sometimes you get the person standing between you and somebody that is far worse. The mistake is pretending those choices are all the same. That's the fucking problem with Democrats. They think these choices are all the same. They are not. This is why blue, no matter who, makes more sense to me in a time of peril, in a time of strategy, a time of pain, a time of destruction. And I'm not saying Democrats get permanent loyalty. I am saying the danger outside this party has to be part of that calculation too. If I believe the country is in danger, I cannot spend the entire election trying to prove that I'm more disappointed in Democrats than anybody else. At some point, I have to ask, who gets power if Democrats lose power? That is the question Republicans have been asking for years. Maybe it's time we start asking the same question. Because while we keep talking morality tests, they're taking power. And we are living with the results, with the catastrophic results. Now, this is where I want to be fair, because the people who reject blue, no matter who, are not making everything up. Some of them are tired. Some of them are angry. Some of them have been voting for Democrats for years, and they're still struggling to afford health care and child care and rent. And they're still watching the federal minimum wage stay where it's at. They're still watching voter rights get weaker. I understand that anger because I have some of that anger myself. When somebody says Democrats have not earned my vote, I'm not going to insult them or pretend I don't understand why they feel the way they feel. I do understand it. That is why I want you to hear the other side of the argument. Hold on. Or look at the other side of the argument. Hold on. Look at the video. Listen to what the video says, or look at what the video is saying. People went and got gas or went and got groceries in 2020. They went to what did they do? They compared groceries from when they got them in 2020 to when they got groceries today. They looked at their receipt in 2020. They went and put the same groceries in the basket in 2026, and the groceries were double what they were from 2020. This is what that receipt says. The groceries were double. Okay. That is the argument, and part of it is true. That is what makes this conversation very, very difficult. Okay. It would be easy if everybody who rejected blue, no matter who, was stupid. They're not. It would be easy if Democrats had done everything they promised. They have not. It would be easy if the Democratic Party had never taken loyalty for granted. They have. Here's where I part ways with that argument, though. You can be right about Democrats and still be wrong about what to do next. You can correctly identify the failure and still choose a remedy that leaves you worse off. If my doctor gives me bad treatment, I have every right to fire the doctor. I'm not going to replace the doctor with somebody who wants to hurt me just to prove how angry I am. That's not accountability. That's making a bad situation worse. I think some of us have confused the two. We say, I'm not voting. The Democrats ain't did nothing for me. We got to teach the Democrats a lesson. We got to make them want us. We got to make them do what we want them to do. Okay, what happens if Democrats lose, dumbass? Who gets the power? The Republicans get the power now. Now you ain't getting shit. We say, I'll vote third party. That will send them a message. Let me vote third party. Let me punish the Democrats. This will send a message to the Democrats. Okay, while you're sending the message, who's appointing the judges? Who's running the agencies? Who's signing executive orders? Who's deciding which laws get enforced and which protections get weakened? The other party is, because you decided you didn't want to fight exactly straight up and straight ahead to where you were supposed to fight. That's the question I keep coming back to, because there's no empty chair in government waiting for you to feel better about your goddamn choices. Somebody's going to sit in that fucking chair. And I want it to be a Democrat. If the person sitting there is worse than you, worse for you, worse for your family, worse for your rights, worse for the country, then I need to understand exactly what we accomplished if you vote third party. I need to understand that. Did we teach Democrats a lesson, or did we hand power to people who were waiting for us to divide this country like they've been doing? to do what they've been doing in this country for the past 2 years. Did we teach the Democrats a lesson? Did Kamala get taught a lesson? Is James Tallarico getting taught a lesson? The Democrats who helped put Tallarico on the ballot, are they getting taught a lesson? Or are we handing power to a people who are waiting to divide this country, to destroy this country, to change this country in fundamental ways that we don't want? That is why I do not accept the idea that voting for an imperfect Democrat means I have compromised all my morals. Maybe my morality includes preventing greater harm. Because, see, some of y'all didn't want to vote because we support the LGBT community. Some of y'all didn't want to vote for the Democrat because of that. But yet you voted for the worst of two evils. The worst. That person has power now. We lost the Voting Rights Act. We lost Roe versus Wade. We almost got lost birthright citizenship. They trying to make us lose the right to vote. What the fuck is wrong with you people? You Democrats, you independent. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Maybe my morality requires me to look beyond how I feel about a candidate and think about what happens to other people if that candidate loses. What about immigrants who can't vote? What about the children who can't vote? The person whose health care is on the line? The worker whose protections can be checked? What about the black voter who needs voting right laws to be enforced in Mississippi? What about the woman whose freedom can be affected by judges she never got to vote for? What's going on? If voting is going to be a morality test, then let us take the whole damn test, okay? Do not just ask whether the Democrat deserves my vote. Ask what happens if the Republicans win. Do not just ask whether my conscience feels clean when I leave the voting booth and I didn't vote for Graham Plattner because my morality was just, I was just so offended by what he did. Ask who has to live with the fucking consequences of the choice you make if you don't vote for him. That is the part of the morality test we keep leaving blank. None of this means Democrats get away with everything. The primary is where I fight you. The primary is where I question you. The primary is where I support somebody better. When you are in office, I pressure you. I criticize you. I call you out. I demand that you do the job. That's what I'm supposed to do when I put you in office. You ain't the best candidate. You ain't the perfect candidate. But when you get into office, I'm going to push you, criticize you, tell you what I want, demand that you do your job. But when the general election comes and the choice is between somebody I have to pressure and somebody I believe will make the danger worse, I'm not going to pretend I do know the difference or I don't know the difference. I know the fucking difference. I can fight a weak Democrat. I can fight what the hell is that dude in Pennsylvania? What's his name? Senator in Pennsylvania. That weak milk toasted motherfucker. I forgot his name. I can fight a weak Democrat. I can organize against a disappointing Democrat. I can protest a Democrat and I can support a primary challenger against a Democrat. But I need a country where elections still matter. I need a country where protests still matter. I need a country where organizing still matters. I need a country where the people in power can still be voted out. That is why Peril, this country being in peril, changes that calculation. This is not me falling in love with the Democratic Party. This ain't a love story. This is me looking at the danger in front of me and deciding I'm not going to help make it worse because the alternative failed to inspire me. I can hold my nose and vote for Graham Plattner. I can hold my nose and vote for Tallarico. Yes, I can. The next morning, I can go right back to raising hell. Those things are not a contradiction. That is a strategy. And I believe we would be in a very different place today if more of us had understood that before the danger got this goddamn far. I'm proud of the 92%. I saw the danger coming my way. Now, Democrats need to listen carefully because no matter who, is not a blank check. Don't hear me saying voters should shut up, fall in line, and accept whatever the Democratic Party wants. That's not what I'm saying. I understand the difference between keeping dangerous people out of power and giving my own side permission to do whatever they want. I understand the difference. You all need to understand the difference. Two different things. If I vote for you because I believe the alternative is more dangerous, you still owe me something when you get into office. You still have to fight. You still have to govern. You still have to protect the people who put you there. You do not get to spend 4 years doing nothing and then show up during the election season telling me how dangerous the other side is. I know they're dangerous. That is why I voted for you. Now, what are you going to do with the power I gave you? That is the question. Democrats have developed a bad fucking habit of asking voters to understand every limitation that they have. They do not have enough votes. The court stops them. The parliamentarian says no. Republicans block them. One Democrat would not go along. 2 Democrats would not go along. I hear this reparation shit all the time. We want our reparations. We ain't going to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats ain't going to give us reparations. Most of y'all need to grow the fuck up. You know you need more than 2/3 of people in the House and the Senate to give you what you want. Why would you ever think that you would be getting reparations? Of course, I would love to have reparations. I don't think you're getting them, though. Okay? I understand the government has rules. I understand the president cannot wave a magic wand. I understand that you got to count votes. I understand that winning the White House does not mean you control everything. But at some point, I need to see Democrats fight as hard to use power as Republicans fight to get it. That is what people are tired of. People are tired of voting like the country is facing an emergency and then watching Democrats govern like everything is fucking normal. We are in a perilous time. We need the Democrats to start fighting and fighting for things that the American people want. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then act afraid to use the fucking power we gave you to protect it. You cannot tell me voting rights are under attack and then treat voting rights like one item on a long fucking list. Make it make sense. You cannot tell me the courts are changing the country and then act like we are not even allowed to discuss what can be done about those damn courts. You cannot tell me the other side is breaking every norm while you spend all your time protecting norms that only one side still follows. That is how people lose faith. That's how I lose faith. That is why I understand some of the anger behind rejecting blue no matter who. I want you to hear this. Or see this. Sorry, you get to see this. Okay. Do you want to win or do you want to whine? Do you want to win or do you want to whine? That frustration is real, and Democrats need to stop acting like every voter who feels that way is uninformed, spoiled, or asking for too much. Some people are asking a fair question. What did you do with the power we gave you? That question deserves an answer, but here's where I draw the line. Democratic failure cannot become my reason for helping somebody more dangerous take the power. I can be angry with Democrats without being careless about who replaces them. I can demand better without pretending worse is the same thing. I can vote for a Democrat in November and start raising hell about that Democrat in January. There's no contradiction to that. So yes, I'm saying vote blue no matter who in times of peril. Vote blue no matter who in times of peril. And I'm also saying Democrats better understand what the vote means. It does not mean I'm satisfied. It does not mean I forgot what you promised, what you said. It does not mean I'm going to defend every bad decision you make, and I'm not going to get my loyalty test from you, and it's not going to be forever. That vote is not forever or forgiveness. It's not a love letter. It's not permission to go back to sleep. Once I help you, my job as a voter does not end. That is another mistake we make. We act like voting is the final act of politics. It's not. Voting decides who gets the power. What we do after the election helps decide what we do with the power. I can vote for you on Tuesday and criticize you on Wednesday. I can help keep your opponent out of office and still demand that you do better. Okay? I will stop treating you. I will stop treating every general election like a morality test. That's what I'm going to stop doing. But Democrats have to stop treating every victory like permission to go back to sleep. Okay? Because blue, no matter who, cannot become an excuse for Democrats to be weak. It cannot become an excuse for bad candidates. I did not vote for Democrats so you could be polite while the country burns. I did not vote for you so you could give a beautiful speech about how terrible everything is. I voted for you to get between the danger and the people who are going to get hurt by it. So yes, I can hold my nose and vote blue. But once you win, you better be ready to fight. Now I want to bring you back to how we got here, okay? Because I do not think we have been honest enough about our role in this mess. We say these people are dangerous. We say the country is in peril. We say voting rights are under attack and the courts are changing the country. We say the people running the agencies matter, and we say the people surrounding the president are incompetent. Then election day comes and some of us decide we can't vote because the Democrat didn't pass our personal morality test. At some point, our behavior has to match the danger we say we believe is real. If I truly believe somebody is a threat to my house, I do not leave the front door open because I'm disappointed in the person holding the goddamn key. If I truly believe the people trying to take power will use that power to hurt people, I cannot act like stopping them is optional. This is where I think we make one big mistake in the Democratic Party. We thought withholding our vote only affected the Democrats. We thought staying home was a punishment for the Democrats. We thought voting third party was only a statement about our values. But every one of those decisions happened inside an election where somebody was still going to win and take power. But voters got to make choices too. We cannot demand that politicians take responsibility for their decisions while refusing to examine our own. Sometimes we made the wrong calculation. We thought both sides were close enough that it didn't matter. Both sides are not the same. Republicans and Democrats are not the same. We are built differently. One president can appoint judges who remain on the bench for decades. One administration can change the direction of federal agencies. One election can determine who controls the machinery of government during the next crisis. That is why I want you to hear this. Number 19, hold still.
See the right using the talking point of give me one reason you'd vote for Democrats that's not just because you hate Trump. And, well, I had to think about it, but here's a reason. Expanding access to healthcare, protecting Social Security and Medicare, abortion rights and reproductive healthcare, emphasis on civil rights and anti-discrimination laws, LGBTQ plus rights, stronger environmental protections, action on climate change, funding of public education, opposition to privatizing public schools, support for labor unions and collective bargaining, higher minimum wages, reducing income inequality, progressive taxation, affordable housing initiatives, consumer protection, gun safety regulations, advocacy for voting rights, opposition to voter suppression measures, supporting immigration reform with pathways to citizenship, a more active federal government, science-based policymaking, trust in public health institutions, expanding mental health services, commitment to racial justice initiatives, criminal justice reform, opposition to mass incarceration, belief in diplomacy over military intervention, support for international alliances like NATO, separation of church and state, government-funded research, women's workplace protections, paid medical and family leave, workplace safety regulations.
Now he ran off on a list of all the things the Democrat believe in. This is not the lesson. We can be angry. We can be disappointed. We can believe Democrats should have done more. None of that changes who gets the power when Democrats lose. That is why I'm done using the general election to express every disappointment I have with the Democratic Party. I have other places to do that. I can fight in the primary. I can organize. I can protest. I can call. But when the general election gets here, I have to deal with the choices that actually exist, not this third party garbage, not the candidate I wished existed, not the party I wished had that we had, not the country I wish we lived in. I have to deal with the names that are actually on the fucking ballot, not the third party candidate. One candidate is somebody I will have to push, pressure, and criticize, while the other candidate represents a danger that can do lasting damage. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold my nose and I'm going to vote. Then I'm going to keep fighting. You don't get points for the morality. You have to look at the other side and say they are a danger. Look at what happened when we voted for Donald Trump. Our country is in more peril. Our country is less secure. Our country is in more danger than ever before because of this president. Our country is in worse shape, more danger, less respect since this president became president. Look what happened. Okay? I'm going to hold my nose and vote, whoever it is. Let me play this last video.
Mitch McConnell is dead, and Republicans are going to get whatever advantage they can by pretending for as long as possible that Mitch McConnell is not dead. This is why Republicans win every fucking time.
I am sick and tired of Democrats have to be the ones that toe the law. We need to bend the law just as far as the Republicans do, just so we can get in the game.
Why Democrats in the Senate aren't raising holy hell about this right now puzzles me to no fucking end.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell is...
Yes, I do believe they are hiding Mitch McConnell, because if they declare Mitch McConnell dead, I think the governor in Kentucky is Democratic, and he will appoint a Democratic person to take Mitch's seat, and then the Democrats will have control of the Senate. Or closely. What is that? What is that? Is it 50 to 49? Is that what it is? 50 to 49, 51 to 49, 51 to 49, and then it would be 50-50. I don't know. All I know is they don't want people to know that Mitch McConnell is alive. See, it's not blind loyalty to a political party. That's an understanding of how power works. This is where I have changed. I used to hear blue no matter who and think if it meant Democrats wanted my vote without earning it. Now I understand that in times of peril, in times of inequality, in times of danger, in times of chaos that we have right now, going on right now, my vote is not only about what a Democrat has earned, my vote is about what I'm trying to prevent. Those are two different questions. I can believe Democrats should do better while looking at Democrats like knowing that Republicans will do worse. I can be angry with my side while recognize the danger on the other side. I can demand more from Democrats without pretending that refusing an imperfect choice will magically create a perfect one. No, I don't. Sometimes refusing the imperfect choice only helps the more dangerous choice win. This is what happened when we voted Donald Trump in. That's the truth we have been avoiding. If we really believe this country is in peril, then we have to stop helping the people we say we're afraid of. I don't need to fall in love with my candidate. I don't need to feel inspired every time we walk into a voting booth. I don't need a politician to make me feel good about myself. I need to understand what is at stake. What's at stake? Voting rights for Black people. Immigration status for Hispanic people. Voting rights for women. Abortion rights for women. You need to understand the existential threat. We need to stop the bleeding. We need war, going to war, getting into war again. Money going out the back door that we don't have. Us, the $1 trillion deficit is an existential threat to all of us. I need to protect the ground we still have. And I need to make sure we still have the ability to fight another day. That is why in this instance, I'm saying it plainly. Vote blue no matter who. I'm not saying vote blindly and then go home. I'm not saying stop criticizing Democrats. I'm not saying give anybody permanent loyalty. I am saying that when the country is in peril, I'm not going to help bad actors take power just so I can have my hands clean and say I'm more on the moral high ground. Oh, no, I couldn't vote for Kamala. No, she laughed too much. She switched, she code switch and all that. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Look at where we at now with your dumb ass. Oh, I didn't want the trans people. I didn't want the trans people being in my bathroom. Shut the fuck up about trans people that you never gonna meet, never have met, never gonna meet. Now we got this clown in office because your dumb ass worried about trans people. I'm saying when the country is in peril, I am not going to help these people keep power. We tried the morality test. Look where it got us. This time I'm looking at the danger, looking at who can actually win and make sure the people I believe will make that danger worse do not get the keys to the country. And that means y'all voting for Tallarico. That means Democrats voting for Tallarico in Texas. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. So where does that leave us? It leaves me in a different place than I used to be. I still do not believe Democrats own my vote. I still do not believe every Democrat is good. I still do not believe I have to defend every bad mistake, every weak candidate, or every failure. But I also believe there are times when the danger around you changes that calculation, or should change that calculation. This is one of those times. Our country is in peril. Our country is in chaos. Our country is in danger. We have bad actors with power. We have people testing the safeguards that are supposed to protect this country. We have people openly arguing about who belongs to America. We have racial hatred coming out of the shadows, coming out of the darkness, and we have people who understand exactly what power can do. Meanwhile, too many of y'all are asleep at the fucking wheel, worried about your morality test. We're still talking. There's no point in you being up on a podcast trying to look good. We want to save this country. We're still asking whether the candidate inspires us. Democrats are still asking whether we agree with every position they have ever taken. Those questions can matter, but they're not the ones people need to question. We also have to ask what happens if the other person wins. That is the question I believe we fail to ask too often as Democrats. We thought refusing to vote would teach Democrats a lesson. Let me withhold my vote. No, the Democratic Party take advantage of us. They don't do nothing we say. Motherfucker, please. Look what happened when you voted for the other guy. Look what is happening. We thought staying home would keep our hands clean. The power still went somewhere. Judges still got appointed. Agencies still got controlled. Supreme Court still got made. And the rest of us still had to live under the person who won. We did not escape the consequences because we refused to make the choice. That is the lesson I've learned. Sometimes voting is about choosing the person you believe in. Sometimes voting is about stopping the person you believe will do the most damage. I do not have to pretend those two things are the same. I can hold my nose and vote for a Democrat who disappoints me. I don't like. She ain't all I want. Then I can wake up the next morning and start pressuring that Democrat to do better. I can criticize them. I can protest them. I can support somebody better in the next primary. And I can hold them accountable for the promises that they made. What I cannot do is hand power to people I believe are dangerous and then act surprised when they use it. I believe we're in this mess, in part because too many of us treated elections like a test of our own personal purity. We wanted to be clean. The other side wanted power. We were deciding whether to hold our noses. They were taking the courts, taking the agencies, taking control of the country. I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't need to love every Democrat. I don't need to trust every Democrat. I don't need to be inspired by every Democrat. I need to look at the choices in front of me and decide who I am willing to let hold the power. That is what blue, no matter who, means to me now. Does not mean forever, does not mean blindly, it does not mean silently. It means I understand the times I'm living in. It means I understand the danger of handing power to bad actors. Look at what we're going through right now. Because we know how we got here. We kept demanding perfection from one side while the other side demanded power. We kept asking whether the Democrat was good enough while the other side was asking whether their candidate could win. I'm done making that mistake as a Democrat. The country is in peril. This ain't a love story. This ain't a marriage. This ain't me promising my loyalty to the Democratic Party. This is me looking at the choices in front of me, looking at the danger around me, and understanding that somebody's going to get that power. And if my choices are an imperfect Democrat, I can pressure those bad actors into believing what I need them to do to make this country better. And I'm going to hold my nose, and I'm going to cast my vote, and I'm going to wake up the next morning and go right back to raising hell. But I'm not going to help bad actors take over this country just so I can say my hands are clean or I'm morally on the high ground. Fuck being on the morally high ground. Fuck that. Not this time. We can't afford it. This November, we can't afford it. Vote blue no matter who, because we got to get these freaks and goofy people up out of here. Otherwise, our country is going. Y'all, our debt. Our country's debt is an existential threat to us. Our debt is a threat to everything that we hold dear. We need to get rid of that debt. And this administration just continues to pile on that debt. Wars. We didn't want to be in war. Now we're in the middle of war. Now we can't even get out of the war. All that this administration has brought to us has given us an existential threat to the country. And we got to vote blue no matter who in order to get them up out of there. Otherwise, we're going to be in the same situation forever and a day. Forever and a day. Let me read some of the super chats. I appreciate you guys hitting the like, share, and subscribe button. Our country is coming out of a crisis named Biden. Yes, only the ignorant would know that. Joe Biden got it. Donald Trump ran us into a ditch. Joe Biden got us out of that ditch. He got us back on the side of the road. Now we're back in the ditch again, even worse, because Trump did this. We let bad actors become our spokespeople. Okay. They're looking in the front. HQ, you know they're hiding Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is probably dead or he's brain dead. One of the two. Yes. Ma'am, can you say vote Republican? No, I would never say vote Republican because you guys have no policies. You guys have no policies for the American people. You don't want health care. You don't want free lunch. You don't want free college. You don't want a progressive tax cut. You don't want to raise the minimum wage. You don't want to do any of those things. You're not for the American people. You Republicans are not for the American people. Just not. And why would I ever vote a Republican when you're not for anything to do with helping the American people? Critical. See, this is Boogeyman talking. Vote like you don't want Section 8. Yes. Vote like you don't want Section 8 defunded. Yes, that's exactly correct. Better have better candidates than Kamala, of course. I'm not worried about better candidates. Why don't you guys get better candidates than Ken Paxton? There's always a better choice for your own belief. Yes, it is. I want my own island. Hey, I want my own island too. Biden let in all those immigrants. Those immigrants ain't hurting you. Right now, your president's policies are hurting us. Has nothing to do with that. Hey, Steelmatic, Honda, G Honda. Hey. Reparations ain't coming. Need a new policy to fight for. Yes, I don't believe that they're ever going to hold as long as white supremacy is intact, and people think people don't deserve reparations. There's never going to be reparations. People keep running around talking about reparations. I don't think we get. And even if we did get it, I believe people who were born before 1965, people who were born 1965 and up, those are the only people that deserve reparations. Nobody else deserves reparations. Okay. That's what I believe. If we got reparations, if they gave it to it, which I don't believe they would ever. Okay. I want hot muffins. So do I. Absolutely correct. That hair is wild. Yeah, don't worry about it. Hey, Miss Walker. Hey, we'll change the makeup of the Senate. Yes, we're going to change the makeup of the Senate. Let's hope. Tell me, Michael, the Saving Act is threatening. No, Michael, the Saving Act, that's what the whole point. Yeah, saving is. Yes, it is. It's threatening the voting rights. Okay, midterm is coming soon, baby. Yeah, I believe the Democrats are going to take the House, and I believe they're going to be 50-50 in the Senate. The biggest problem the community have come voting, and it's always what have you done for me? Like, see, the parties are like just think of your kitchen. Your kitchen got food, it's got a refrigerator, it's got freezer, it's got food and everything in it. And think of it as the Democratic Party. You have to go inside of that kitchen and pull out the ingredients that you want in order to make what you want. You just can't tell the Democrats, make me a cake, because they'll make any old cake. If you want a specific cake, you need to go into the kitchen and tell the Democrats to make a specific cake. That's the way you got to look at the Democratic Party. Too many of y'all just sit back and think Democrats just going to do what I want them to do. I just want them to do stuff for me. I'm the black man and I just want them to do stuff for me. No, you need to go into the Democratic Party and tell them what you want. You need to come to them and say, hey, I want this for the black man. I want job opportunities to come back for the black man. I want Job Corps and all of those kind of projects and things like that to help them build skills. I want those things to come back. If you ain't went into the Democratic kitchen and said what you wanted, they don't know what you want. The LGBT don't have no problem walking into the Democratic kitchen and asking them what they want. If you're a black male Democrat, then you need to do the same thing. Have something to say. Go into the kitchen and ask them to do something for you. The debt is climbing. It just continues to climb. And the Republicans who say they are fiscal conservatives, they're liars, because they don't have policies that help the American people. What would help the American people right now is universal health care, raising the minimum wage, having a progressive tax cut. Those three things right there would help our economy, and rescind those tax cuts that they gave to the rich. Those are 4 things that will help our country immediately within the next 2 or 3 years. We would bringing in money enough to pay the debt. Rescind those tax cuts. Universal health care. Free college. Progressive tax cut. You Republicans don't want none of that. You don't have any intention of helping the regular man. So therefore, who needs to vote for you when you don't have anything to help the regular man? Okay? That's wild. Billion a day lost in the war. Yes, you do. This is terrible. We are in a perilous time. Yes, I understand. We are in the only country that don't have universal health care and don't have free college. That's wild. When we could get rid of all of those insurance companies, we could get rid of people not being able to go to college. We can raise our education level. We can get a progressive tax cut. Yes, I'm not a very smart woman. Absolutely. I'm not a very smart woman. Absolutely. Don't believe nothing I say. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys.